As the opening game of the college football season for the Alabama Crimson Tide and the USC Trojans approaches us, it's getting really close. I decided that today I'm going to talk about the USC defense and why that might be a weakness for them in this game and maybe for the rest of the season, depending on how it goes. So, first of all, I'd like to start off their strengths on defense. Their number one strength on defense is the position group of cornerback. And I've already talked about this a little bit, but they have Iman Marshall at one corner, who's a true sophomore, very talented guy, looking to get much better this year, even though he was good last year too. And on the other side, they have Adoree Jackson, who we all know, dynamic playmaker, plays a little bit of offense too, dynamic player, great cornerback. So their cornerbacks are the most talented part of their defense, and it shows. Even their slot guys are developing. Isaiah Langley, who won't be able to play the first game of the season, actually. Jack Jones is a true freshman who might play a little bit. So we'll see. Their cornerbacks are their strength for sure. And their middle linebacker, Cam Smith, is also a good strength. He played really well last year. Even though he missed 4 games with injuries, he still had 78 tackles, which is amazing. And so I expect big things out of the cornerbacks and the middle linebackers. That should be the strength of their defense. They have questions, though. They have question marks. Their defensive line and their outside linebackers. And I'm going to get on that a little bit because their defensive front has changed a little bit this year. So their defensive line, their outside linebackers, and their safeties. Well, I should say one position. Their free safety, Chris Hawkins, who should be back this year. I think he's going to be a junior. He's experienced, so he should be able to provide a little bit of stability. But the strong safety position is a little shaky in their defensive front. Those are their questions. And that's heightened by the fact that they have a new defensive alignment this year with Clancy Pendergrass coming in. Yes, Clancy Pendergrass, if you remember, he's the one who orchestrated that beautiful 2009 Arizona Cardinals defense, the one that led them to the Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh Steelers. In those playoff games leading up to the Super Bowl, they held 3 out of their 4 opponents to less than 300 yards. It's ridiculous, something like that. Look it up. And he's made like a history of coming in and turning around the defense. And for those of you with short-term memory, he also served as the USC defensive coordinator in 2013 and turned him around from the 7th defense in the Pac-12 to the 1st defense in the Pac-12. So he has a history. And also with Cal, and this is just giving you a little build-up here, he, in his first year there in 2010, he turned their defense around and he actually held that famous Oregon Ducks offense to only 15 points. That is impressive. That's even less than the amount that Auburn held them to in the national championship game. Cal's offense just couldn't capitalize. So Clancy Pendergrass is going to try to make this defense respectable again. He's switching them from the 3-4 that Justin Wilcox had last year to a 5-2. And a lot of you don't know about defensive alignments, but I'll try to keep it simple. 3-4 alignments are basically a system that tries to teach each player to maintain that gap control and basically stop the run, keep their gaps in order so that no big runs can be broken out, no cutbacks, none of that. The 5-2 is basically, it's similar to a 3-4, except it's an attacking scheme. If I gave my own little definition of it, it's like a 3-4 that responds like a 4-3 attacking defense, if that makes sense. Instead of sitting there trying to maintain the gaps, they're all aggressively attacking the gaps. And it can be a very frustrating defense. It's one that tries to dictate to the offense what it's going to do. And so he's switching USC back to that type of defense this year, hoping to turn them around and get those guys thinking a little bit less and getting them more reacting and just getting in the backfield. They have some issues, though. So USC lost, I'm not going to give an exact number, I think 5, but I'll say some for now. USC lost some senior interior defensive linemen from last year. Pretty much the whole defensive front was like seniors, and they lost them all, which is going to be a problem. So they don't have a lot of depth this year. Their starting 3 should be pretty talented. I think they have Dorton, Rasheem Green, who is getting a lot of expectations placed on him this year. I've seen him; he made a few plays here and there last year, so they're expecting him to step up and be the leader. So they should have a solid starting defensive front, but the experience behind them and the talent level and the depth is a question mark. And that's going to be something to watch as the game wears on against Alabama and teams like Stanford who like to run the ball and punish you. That's going to be interesting. Also, last year, even just taking account the fact that not their talent in their bodies, but USC against the run last year, they weren't that great. So ESPN, they were ranked 41st against the run last year. And on first look, that's not horrible, but it's definitely nowhere near good enough to beat Alabama. Because I watched their games, unless they get drastically better this year, against Stanford in the first quarter alone, Stanford ran 10 consecutive run plays. It was in the Pac-12 championship game. They ran 10 consecutive run plays, and each time McCaffrey just boom, first down, 10 yards here, 8 yards there, 6 yards there, just running the ball down the throat. 19 out of their 23 plays in the first quarter were run plays. And that kept the USC offense on the field for only 6 plays the whole first quarter. They could not stop the run. Consistently, the defensive linemen are getting blown off the ball, just being pushed back. And so that's going to be an issue for them this year. They're counting on guys like Kenny Bigelow and Jabari Ruffin to step up so that on that 5-2, they can have the defensive linemen and their linebackers attacking the gap so they don't have to worry about being blown off the ball. Hopefully, they can get to the backfield and get penetration. I think that's what Pendergrass is hoping that they can accomplish this year. And so he has a penchant for turning around those defenses. We'll see if his aggressive attacking style can make a difference. Because I think if he can accomplish that, then it takes a lot of pressure off the secondary to be the sole determiner of whether or not the USC defense will actually be good this year. Without the defensive front applying the pressure and holding up against the run, they will struggle, especially against teams like Alabama and Oregon. I mean, not Oregon, Stanford. They actually may be able to stand up a little better against teams like Oregon because of their attacking style, and they won't be sitting there thinking too much, and they'll just be going after the quarterback, attacking the gaps. But against teams like Alabama and Stanford, they might be in trouble, especially with the lack of depth. So that pretty much sums up why I think USC's defense may be a weakness this year. We'll see how it plays out in the Alabama game on September 3rd. USC fans, I want to hear from you. What do you think about that? Alabama fans, same thing. This is going to be a fun one to watch.